Steelers how I want them
better watch
to
your mouth.
lose. I'm going to say what they are. I can say whatever I want to say.
You better
I'm
watch your mouth.
Fireplace.
You better watch your mouth, Ryan Clark. You better be respectful. You better respect your elders. Go ahead.
Hey, man, I'm just treating you like you treat my guy Max, man.
No,
listen,
I know.
When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way that they're put together, you know, they're a team that's put together to pressure Patrick Mahomes, to be able to play zone on the back end because you can rush 4. They can also score on offense. And when we've watched Kansas City have trouble, it's been because teams are able to move the football on them. And when you have Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, there's so many weapons for Big Ben to choose from and throw to. And then on the other side of that, you have to have a quarterback who's willing to compete, willing to go toe-to-toe, and that can make crucial plays in critical football moments for your football team. And that's what Ben Roethlisberger can do. And I know for so long we talked about how great Andy Reid was as a football coach, right? It was just, can he win that championship? He's had all these great teams. We all love him. Well, you know a coach that does have a championship? Mike Tomlin. You know a coach who has never had a losing season? Mike Tomlin. Do you know a coach whose team is undefeated this year? Mike Tomlin. And so when you look at everything that you need to be a winning football team, a championship football team, and dethrone a champion, the Pittsburgh Steelers have it. And they can absolutely unseat the Kansas City Chiefs as the AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
I'm taking a wait-and-see approach to this, Ryan, in all seriousness, man, because I'm reticent, because you know this better than me. There are times, for example, where a mistake here or there is made by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their defense is able to overcome it. My fear is that you make those mistakes early, and then you end up looking like Tampa Bay in the first quarter against the Kansas City Chiefs, because Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce come out throwing bombs and running roughshod over you and put you in that kind of hole. We've seen that happen to the Pittsburgh Steelers before, particularly in a playoff game against Jacksonville with Blake Bortles as their quarterback. Imagine what could happen if something like that went against what happened with Patrick Mahomes. So I'm not doubting.
It's a different team, though.
I know that. It's a different, and I totally get that. I understand it's a totally different team, and I keep bringing up the weapons. But I'm going to tell you why a guy like James Conner, this is where my reticence comes in. Love James Conner, Max, Ryan, respect him, love his story. We understand the adversity that he's overcome. God bless him. We wish him nothing but the best. And he's pretty damn good. But I guess I'm spoiled a little bit, Ryan, by the Jerome Bettises of the world, the Le'Veon Bells of the world, guys that come out of the backfield that can really, really assist you in moving the chains and keeping the ball out of the opposing team's offense. That's a question mark I have. I have no question about the Steelers receiving. I see Ben complete 67% of his passes. The Claypools, Juju Smith-Schusters, Eric Ebron, James Washington, Deontay Johnson. They go 5 wide. We know what time it is. We get it. But you've got to be able to methodically march down the field and beat a team and keep the ball out of the opposing offense's hands. That's my question mark about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. That's why I got to see more of it to believe it. That's where I'm coming from, Ryan.
I mean, the Patriots team that beat the greatest show on turf, who was the name brand running back? You know, like Belichick has a good running game a lot of the time without a name brand guy. You don't need a name brand guy to move the chains and to be respectable on the ground and to do what you got to do. But I mean, like Tomlin right now, Mike Tomlin has a chance to elevate his stature, his status among the all-time great coaches. He's already a future Hall of Fame coach. He's won Super Bowls. He's come in and went 8-8 without a quarterback, starting a third stringer. But look what he's doing this season. He's 10-0, right? Now imagine for a second that they wind up in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he turns in a coaching performance. He has a team like the Patriots that played the greatest show on turf. Oh, my God, the greatest show. These Rams, they can't be beat. They have the receivers. They have everything they need, right? Like, but that well-rounded New England team who wasn't going to show you how great they were against run-of-the-mill teams. They needed another great team to bring it out in them, to show you everything they could do. If Pittsburgh does that to Kansas City, that actually... The year after we said Mike Tomlin just turned in his best coaching performance. Actually, that would be Tomlin's greatest coaching performance, and it would elevate him even more. Here's the problem. He'd be going against Andy Reid if you're asking, can they knock off the Chiefs to win the AFC? And Andy Reid was a guy who got very close, great coach, 5 NFC championship games, right? But no cigars. Now he has a cigar. Now Andy Reid's got that too. And he's totally loaded. And Reid, like Tomlin, is a truly great coach because he was able to change with the times. He wasn't stuck like Mike McCarthy in a previous era. He was a great coach in a previous era. And if anything, he got even better going forward, like Tomlin. So I think because of that, because the Chiefs also have a great coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, a guy who has consistently had success at the highest level, I think that neutralizes somewhat the thing that really makes Pittsburgh different and special, which is their head coach. And I think the talent in KC will carry the day.
And see, that's not the thing is not who we're predicting to win. The question is, can they do it? Now, there are some teams that no matter what they did, you feel like if they go up against Kansas City, whether it's a regular season game or playoff game, they don't have what it takes. What I'm saying is when you look, I still have Kansas City at #1 on my power ranking because I believe all of those things that you said, Max. But when I think of a team that's perfectly and ready-made to beat them, to unseat them one day, right? Because I don't think there's a team in the league that could beat the Kansas City Chiefs 10 times out of 10 or beat them, more the majority of times out of 10 than the Kansas City Chiefs will win. But you just got to win once. You got to be good that day. You got to be better that day. And I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers can do that.
Well, see, listen, and I get where you're coming from. I reiterate my point about needing to see it to believe it. I'm looking at T.J. Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Bud Dupree. Those are the three guys leading them in sacks. You're going to be able to get to the quarterback as quick as Patrick Mahomes releases that football. His moving ability, he's got some wheels on him as well. Those things could ultimately be problematic. You know me, I've always got a question about their secondary. And then on the offensive side of the ball, look at this. Ben Roethlisberger has played at all 10 games this year. You know how many times he's been sacked, Max, Ryan? He's been sacked 10 times. 1 time per game. He's been sacked 10 times this season, which means they're protecting him. But they got the 24th ranked rushing attack.
Get rid of the ball
that could have something to do with attempt because even though you got Ben Snell and you got James Conner running the football, you're throwing it more than you're running it. I get all of that. But on far too many occasions, I see them call running plays, and I don't see what I need to see from their backs in terms of being effective enough when it really, really counts to move the chains, make a difference, and keep that ball out of the opposing offense's hands. That is my ultimate fear against Kansas City. Pittsburgh should beat everybody else. And to get to your point, Max, when you talk about what Mike Tomlin could be, as great as he is, Hall of Fame coach, credentials speak for himself. We love him. We know it. But here's the bottom line. He could also hurt his cachet a little bit, too, because if you go 15-1, 16-0, 14-2. You got the #1 seed, and then you get bounced out by somebody other than Kansas City. That's not going to look good either. Been looking. You got to remember defensively they've been compromised because there's no Devin Bush, there's no Bud Dupree. Right now there might not even be a Spillane. So we don't know what their defense is going to be able to do. They're #1 now overall in points allowed, #3 in yards allowed. But the bottom line is where they struggle at times, at least it's in their secondary against the pass. And what is the Chiefs' strength? To throw the football. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Kelsey, who clearly looks like the best tight end in football. I mean, this brother looks like a Hall of Famer, just instant. This brother's a big time, okay? Tyreek Hill is arguably the best wide receiver in the game. We didn't even bring up Sammy Watkins and McCole Hardman. These brothers got it all with Bieniemy and Andy Reid patrolling the offense. And so when I look at it from that perspective and I look at how the Steelers defense could be compromised because of that, then it comes down to the Steelers offense. You can't run the football. You've been one of the worst running teams in football the last 3 years. 2 years ago, ranked 31st. Last year, ranked 29th. At this present moment, they're ranked 29th. That means Ben Roethlisberger has to throw the football, and he has to do what he can to play mistake-free football. And we all know the more he drops back to pass, the more mistake is inevitable. And those are the kind of things that can cost you against Kansas City. And the bottom line is pressure breaks pipes. We all know palms get sweaty, and we also know what gets tight. And so as a result of that, when you got that offense for the Kansas City Chiefs coming at you, that might make you tighter. That might make you find yourself in a situation where you know you can't afford to make the mistakes, and any mistake you make could ultimately cost you big time. I see the Kansas City Chiefs right now, and I hope I'm wrong, but I see them right now being a modern-day version of the New England Patriots when it came to the Steelers. You know that, remember when, Marcus, no matter how good the Steelers looked, every time they ran into Tom Brady, you just said, oh, damn. Yep. Especially in Foxborough, because you just knew what was going to happen. At Heinz Field, it was a tighter matchup. But in Foxborough, they'd get blitzed. The Steelers lose. They got the same record as the Chiefs now. As a result, it's possible that the Chiefs could have a playoff game, an AFC Championship game at Arrowhead Stadium instead of Heinz Field. Even if it wasn't Heinz Field and ain't no damn fans, no terrible tower waivers, at least not more than 20-25% of the fans in the stadium. So it's like, oh, damn it!
Hell.
Just when just when I didn't need a team to be in their way, the Steelers look this way, and Kansas City is. So yes, Max, it is possible the Steelers could get
look at their last 4 games
dominated. All right, I looked at their last 4 games.
Look
I'm
at
not
their
talking
last.
about that.
Look at.
I'm just saying
Look
that
at
this
the
is what
Chiefs.
I think about the Steelers right now.
The Chiefs' last 4 games.
Who cares?
Chiefs' last 4 games I'm talking about, and I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl since the preseason. I picked them against the field straight up, guys. The Chiefs beat the Broncos 22-16. The Bucs by a field goal. The Raiders by 4 points, 35-31. The Panthers by 2 points. These are the last 4 games. They ain't dominating these teams.
Cool. All that's fine, Max. What you're talking about. Yeah, the Chiefs would dominate the Steelers. And it's because of one point that Stephen A. made before I got on and the point he just made now. If you don't have a run game, you cannot beat the Chiefs. That's the bottom line. Because at some point, your offense is going to have to become your defense. Like, you don't beat all of those tight games you just talked about, Max. The Chiefs won because the Chiefs have both elements of the game. There is not enough credit given to the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have won every type of way that you want to win the game. How have the Steelers won? Defensively and throwing the ball through the air. And last night, when they could not run the ball and they faced a Washington football team with a formidable defensive line, the batted balls because Ben gets the ball out quick. Big plays in that game. Not just the Montez Sweat tip for an interception, but before that, drive-stopping tip balls. And then you get to the point where you say, okay, you one-dimensional? Max, if I was to ask you this question, let me pose it another way. Do you think a one-dimensional offensive team can beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Or will the Chiefs dominate that team? If I said the only thing this team go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I'm picking the Chiefs to win. The key word is dominate. I just read you off the scores of their last 4 games. They're all within a touchdown, usually within about a field goal. Guys, this is the Steelers' defense, okay? Just talk about points they've given up. 23, 14, 3, 10, 19. They don't give up a lot of points, right? So when you say dominate, you think like, oh, you look up at halftime, they're down 2 touchdowns. I don't see it as that kind of game.
Max, hold on, Pastor Spears, hold on for 1 second. Max Kellerman, wasn't it you that just a couple of weeks ago said that the Chiefs just are toying with people? Was that like said it? Am I making that up? Did you say that?
I said a couple seconds ago.
Yeah, exactly. You said it segments ago. They're just toying with people. Toying with people.
Max,
that's what you said.
All right, but hold on. Let me ask you this.
Okay. And I like the Chiefs to win, but that's different than saying dominate.
Let me ask you this. All right, you ripped off the teams that the Kansas City Chiefs just played close. Who did the Pittsburgh Steelers give up that amount of points to? Is it anybody close to what the Chiefs can do off
Ravens?
Come on.
Washington, Cowboys.
It's not comparable. We're talking about a juggernaut offensively that if you not going toe-to-toe. Listen, the one loss for the Kansas City Chiefs this year was the Las Vegas Raiders, who scored 40 points. What people fail to mention in that game is that game was really dominated at the line of scrimmage by the Las Vegas Raiders. With Josh Jacobs being able to control possessions and key first downs in order for Patrick Mahomes not to get the ball back. And in recent games that we just watched, we all know.
That's why I wouldn't pick the Pittsburgh to beat him. You identified it. Pittsburgh doesn't have the run blocking.
We heard you about the dominate point,
but that's different. Dominate is well. That's the question. You don't.
I'm just saying, but you keep acting like we ignored the question about dominate. Yeah. We understand. Just so Max, so you don't have to repeat it to us again, like we can't comprehend. We are talking dominate, Max.
What's the score of the game, Stephen?
We really understand
it. What's the point spread?
We get it. Excuse me, we don't care.
So what's the
I didn't even look at the point spread. I don't care.
I'd like to know what you think.
I think that the Kansas City Chiefs can
we all think the Chiefs are going to win. So
no, I'm just saying, but we're not accusing
so we
you
all
of
think the
saying
Chiefs
they're
are going
not
to win. So what counts as domination?
Wait, excuse me. Butts their living butt. Is that good enough? Is that good enough?
In this NFL with these
I don't
two
see them
teams,
getting their living butts busted.
In this NFL with two teams, a 2-touchdown win for the Chiefs is very plausible against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in the NFL, a 14-point win is dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Max, do you remember the other day?
Of course, and I don't see it that way.
When the Chiefs beat the Bucks, remember how the final score was 27-24. But do you remember what the Chiefs were doing to the Bucks in the first half?
Yeah.
And how they just took their foot off the gas. Something along that line. How about something along those lines, Max?
But Stephen A.
Would that
Stephen A.
Yeah, but guys, wait.
But we also just had a game.
At the end of the game.
We also just had a game Sunday where the Cleveland Browns clearly dominated the Titans, and it was 41-35 at the end of the game.
That's right.
Clearly dominated the Tennessee Titans the entire game.
I agree.
The Chiefs would dominate the Steelers in this current situation.
Clearly
Max.
the better team. The Chiefs are the better team at the end of every game, even against the Raiders, who are built for them. They lost a game. They didn't go undefeated. Then the second game was close. But at the end of every game, they get the sense Chiefs are the better team. I'm not debating that. I'm saying whether it's they have to come back against a team like the Chargers early in the season, or they let a team back in the game like the Bucks later in the season, they seem to almost get bored, and so the games are closer than they ought to be. And what I'm saying about the Steelers is you're sleeping on them right now because the way they've looked in this stretch where their schedule makers, they got screwed by COVID because of the Titans game and the Ravens game. They played 3 games in 13 days, and they look worse than they are right now.
I'll help you out, Max. I'm going to look out for my brother here. I'm going to look out for my brother from another mother here. I'm going to help Max out. Max Kellerman is not saying the Chiefs are going to lose. Max Kellerman, America, are you listening to me? Max Kellerman is not saying the Chiefs are going to lose. He is not saying they're not the better team. He just feels the need to bring out his thesaurus and explain the definition of dominant. Compared to something else.
Yeah.
What we are saying, Max Kellerman, is that
I'd love for you guys to define dominant.
Hold on, I'll let you speak. We are saying we fully comprehend what you're saying, Max. We know you're not saying the Chiefs are going to lose. You're just saying they wouldn't dominate the Steelers. We're saying, Pastor Spears and myself are saying,
yes, they would.
This Steelers team